Kainria, huh? You sure know a lot. The legacy of Kainria is long gone. The sinners are all that's left, and they're not worth mentioning.
I am back with another build, and today we are going to build Yae Miko. She can be your main DPS if you want, and she can be your best support in the team. She can clear your Abyss as main DPS, or she can help as main Electro support. It all depends on how you build your Miko. From what weapon to what artifacts you need, I will cover everything in this video. So let's get this started. Let's talk about how her kit works. The first thing you need to do is level up her element skill talent, because her whole gameplay revolves around it. When you use her elemental skill, she will summon Seshu Sakura, its small electro thing that looks like Fox statue. And that skill will deal electro damage to opponents, and its damage depends on her maximum attack. At C0, you can only use its damage to level 3. She can use her skill 3 times, and her skill will stay on the field for 14 seconds, and its cooldown is only 4 seconds. So you can have her skill on the field all the time, and it will apply and deal electro damage to opponents. So this is how it works. The pillar is dealing 3700, and now if you active the second one, its damage will increase. Now the damage is 4600. And if you active 3 pillars at same time, then the damage will increase again. With 3 pillars, her damage is 5700. In simple words, the more pillars you have on the field, the more damage they will do. The next thing you need to level up is her elemental burst. How much damage your elemental burst will deal will depend on how you use it, and its damage depends on her maximum attack. If you use her elemental burst, she will deal 1 big strike of electro damage. But if you have her elemental skill pillar on the field, she will hit more. It will depend on how many pillars you have on the field before using her elemental burst. If you have 1 pillar, she will hit 1 more strike, and if you have 2, then she will hit 2 strikes. And if you have all 3 Fox statue on field, she will hit 3 more strike. So that's how her elemental burst works. But it costs 90 energy. That is a lot. And not to mention its cooldown is 22 seconds. So energy recharge is a thing for her. If you have low energy recharge on her, your elemental burst will take some time to charge up. Her first passive is good. It will reset the cooldown of her elemental skill after you use her elemental burst, and it will depend on how many electro pillars you had on the field before using it. Simply put, it will reset the amount of pillar you used for the elemental burst. If you have 1, it will remove cooldown for 1, and if you have 3, it will remove cooldown for 3. This passive will increase Miko's element skill's damage, and it depends on her elemental mastery. Each point of elemental mastery Miko have will increase her elemental skill damage by 0.15%. It's not much, but it's good for support Miko. When you use Miko for crafting talent books, she has a 25% chance to get 1 regional character talent material, but it will differ from the talent material you used for crafting. Now, let's talk about her constellation. Her C1 is about her energy recharge. When you use her elemental burst, every Tenko Thunderbolt Miko hits will restore 8 energy for her. In simple words, the more electro pillars you use for her elemental burst, the more energy she will restore, and with 3 strikes you can restore 24 energy. This is a good constellation if you want to use Miko as the main DPS. C2 is connected to her elemental skill. Her C2 will do 2 things. First, it will increase the range of her elemental skill by 60%. And second is, her elemental skill will start at level 2 and its max level is increased to level 4. At C0, she can only use her elemental skill's damage at level 3, but with her C2, she can use her skill damage at level 4. This is a good constellation for her. C3 will increase her element skill talent by 3. It's good for her because her main damage comes from her elemental skill. At C4, when Miko's elemental skill hits opponents, everyone's electro damage bonus will increase by 20% for 5 seconds. Since her elemental skill pillars always hit opponents, you will always have an extra 20% electro damage bonus for your party. This makes a big difference if you are using any other electro character with her. C5 will increase her elemental burst talent by 3 levels. At C6, her elemental skill damage will ignore 60% defense of opponents. Now this is a good constellation, but not great, because her elemental skill is not dealing 100k or anything. But it's good because her elemental skill stays on field all the time. Her C2 increases her elemental skill damage, and C4 gives a 20% electro damage bonus. And if you have Kazuha, Bennett, and Sarah in party, her elemental skill will do more damage than 100k with each hit. But again, she can't do it on her own. Nevertheless, it is a good constellation. If you want to use Miko as the main DPS and you can't go for C6, then you can go for C1. C1 will give you what you need, because your energy recharge problem will be over with it. Let's move to the next part of this video. I will show you different weapons and artifacts work, and what you can do to get the most out of them. Because every weapon and artifact will change the gameplay for your Miko. If you are using her as the main DPS, then you need to go with weapons that give critical value and attack as sub-status. And if you want to use her as support, Then you can go with weapons that give elemental mastery. So the first weapon we are going to use is Widsith. It's her best choice if you don't have her signature or any other 5-star weapon. We are using crit rate circlet for more crit rate value. And we are using a Thundering Fury artifact set. So her burst damage was 25,000 and 32,000 from the Tenko Thunderbolt. The next weapon is Skyward. That's only the 5-star weapon I have. This weapon gives more attack and she needs attack. Again, we have 25,000 from her Elemental Burst and 32,000 from the Tenko Thunderbolt. Now the reason for that is her critical value. It's almost the same. The next weapon is the Mappa Mare. It doesn't work well with Thundering Fury as Widsith work, but for reference, I will show you how it works. Her burst damage was 20,000 and 10,000 from Thunder Strikes. This is not a bad weapon, but it doesn't work with DPS Miko. The next weapon is Oath Sworn. It gives attack as sub-status. She only crit one time, but her biggest damage was 26,000. It's not bad at all. This is why you need to have good crit rate on her. Now I will show you Widsith damage with crit damage circlet. And with that we have more than 200% critical damage. But we have the same attack on her that we had with the crit rate circlet. So this is why her damage is almost the same as before, even though we have more critical damage value. So let's change her goblet from electro to attack. So she did 35,000. That's the biggest number we saw from the Elemental Burst, and the Thunder Strike did 25,000. Now the burst damage increased, but her Thunder Strike damage was less. The reason for that is because her electro damage was decreased since we used the attack goblet. So how can we have both, more attack and electro damage? It's simple. We will use different artifact sets. Now we will go with 2 pieces of Gladiator for more attack and 2 pieces of Thundering Fury for electro damage. Again, we have almost the same critical value, but now we have almost 1900 attack. So let's see how it works. Her burst damage is 32,000 and her Thunder Strike did 42,000. This was the biggest Thunder Strike damage we have seen till now. The next combination is 2 pieces of Vermilion for more attack. Now we have the 1958 attack, 65 more than the last artifact set. Her burst did 30,000 and 39k from her Thunder Strike. This is not bad, but the last combination was better, so this was for DPS Miko. Now I will show you how support Miko works. The first set we will use is Gilded Dreams. It's the best set for support Miko. First, we will only use Miko and watch her elemental skill damage. We will not use Dendro Element here, so her solo skill damage is 4400. Now let's see how it will work with Dendro. So without crit it's 8,000 and with crit it's 15,000. Now look at how fast Ruin Guard died. And while Miko didn't do any normal attack. So now we are going with 2 pieces of Elemental Mastery combination. With this, we have more Elemental Mastery. Again, we will do first solo damage and it's 4,700. It's 300 more than last set. Now, let's see its damage with Dendro. Without crit, it's 6,000, but with crit it's 18,000. Again, it's more than last set. Now, let's give her even more Elemental Mastery. We will try her with a Mappa Mare. With this, we have Elemental Mastery over 500. Her solo damage is around 4,200. Even though she has 83% crit rate, she is not doing crit. It's because of low attack value. She can't do much with low attack. And even with Dendro and 500 Elemental Mastery, she only did 12,000 at most. So if you are thinking of giving her Elemental Mastery, the next artifact set will show you whether it will work or not. I am giving her Elemental Mastery in each piece. We have Elemental Mastery over 700. That is a lot for any support character. Again, we will try her solo damage first. Without crit she is not even doing 2,000 and with crit it's 3,800. This is the lowest solo skill damage till now. Let's try her with Dendro. Even with Dendro the most damage she can do is 11,000. And if you are thinking that Dendro damage is the same as before, it's because that damage is coming from our Dendro support, not from Miko. If we give Dendro Archon more Elemental Mastery, then Dendro damage will change. So it went from 20,000 to 28,000. If you are thinking of giving Elemental Mastery to Miko, then it's a bad idea. What you need to do is give her attack and good critical value, even if you want to use her as support. For a DPS Miko, you need to have an attack around 18.0 and your crit value should be around 60 to 150. The reason for that is because she can miss crit even with that high crit rate. And for support, you can go with a Gilded Dream artifact set. You have to use Elemental Mastery as Sans, because the more reaction you will get, the more damage she will do. If you don't have Gilded Dreams, then you can go with a 2-piece combination with any artifact that gives Elemental Mastery as sub-status. But all these set almost do same damage. Of course, the damage gap would be around 5 to 6,000. So go with an artifact set that gives you enough attack and crit value. Now, let's move to the last part of this video. Let's talk about teams. I will show you Miko's works with different teams. This first team is this, with Glided Dream set. These 3 people does nothing but increase Miko's damage. She did 49,000 and it was over quickly. If you don't have these players, then you can go with this party. Traveler for Dendro support and Water Pokemon, and Barbara for Hydro. This team works very well but not as good as the last one. The reason for that is, Traveler can't apply Dendro always like a Dendro Arcan, and his damage is also lower if you compare to Nahida. And if you are thinking Miko is not dealing big numbers because we are using Gilded Dream set, then let's go with Thundering Fury. This and last artifact set have almost the same crit values, but this artifact set focus on Miko's personal damage.
Let the show begin. Nothing lasts forever. Right now, right here.
Now even with this artifact set, the damage is the same as before. This combination is not bad as a team, but here what we need is a character that can deal damage as sub DPS. Water Pokemon and Barbara are for pure support. The Traveler can deal big numbers if you have good crit value on him, but he can't apply Dendro always. So what we need in this party is Dendro DPS. So we will use Ilhatham because he can apply Dendro faster and deal more Dendro damage than Traveler. Once you have Miko's Electro Pillars on field, then you can change to Ilhatham. But in this party, Miko is working as sub DPS. She is applying Electro, while Ilhatham is dealing damage. You can use Kuki instead of Barbara if you want, because she works well with this team as well. As you can see, this team really works great if you have Dendro DPS. You can go with Kaveh or Dr. Baiju if you want, but Ilhatham is better choice. But if you just want to use Miko as the main DPS, then you can go with this team. Again, this team does nothing but increase Miko's damage. You can use Sarah instead of Zhongli if you want, because Sarah can increase your overall electro damage. So as we can see, this team works very well with Miko. In this party, Miko is only DPS. Other 3 are just there to buff Miko. Of course, we can use Kuki or Raiden instead of Zhongli. That will work too. There are a lot of other characters you can use. It can be Sarah or any other Dendro support. But this team works great, so if you have these characters, then you should use it. And if you want to increase her elemental burst damage, then you can put Mona in a team for that, since Mona can increase your overall burst damage. But not only that, Mona can apply Hydro off field as well, and she can be sub DPS if you have built her like DPS. Now, with Mona she did 72,000 with her Thunder Strike. That's the biggest damage we have seen today. If you want to use her with a Dendro element, then you need to go with a character that can apply Dendro for a while. If you think every Dendro character will work well with her, then it's not true. See for yourself. And when in a fight, make sure to look at Miko's elemental skill, because 14 seconds are over after you use some elemental burst and skills. So make sure to notice it, if her elemental skill is on the field or not. Now if you look here, Tignari used all the time, Iato and Benny's burst is gone, and even after Tignari's elemental burst. Not every mob has a Dendro on them when Miko is using elemental burst. This team is not working well even though we have every element we need for Miko. The reason for that is, other than Bennett, we don't have any support. 3 DPS and 1 support. This is why it's not working. Now if we just use Dendro Arcan here, everything will change, because she can apply Dendro faster and it stays on mobs. See for yourself.
I see everything. I'm going in. A sight to behold.
Now it's working very well. But just you know, in this party, Miko is not the only DPS. Iato can deal quick damage as well. Now this team has the same elements as the last team. The only difference is that every mob has Dendro on them. And because of that, Hydro is making more Dendro cores, and Electro is dealing damage with those cores, so this is how this team works. Again, there are many other characters you can use with Miko, like Ball, who can generate energy for Miko quickly, or you can use her with Sino. It depends on what you have. So this is it for today, guys. If you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. I will see you again in the next guide video.